Welcome to Rich Conversations. I'm so energized right now. I am in the sun. I'm here at the Frost Science Museum in Miami, and joining me via Zoom is Bryce Gunning. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the program.
It's good to be back, man. Thanks for having me again. We got to run it back.
We're running it back. And where are you right now?
I am currently on Vancouver Island, just off of Vancouver in Canada. So I have now a downtown apartment in the big city here, and yeah, love being here. Canada, super cold. We hit 2 degrees last night, which is freezing Celsius. So Fahrenheit, I'm not sure what that is, around 50, I think. But it's cold here. It's beautiful today though, nice and sunny. I don't know if you can see behind me, but it's I'm enjoying it. My family lives close by, so it's good to keep in contact for sure.
Cold. I haven't heard the word cold in a few days.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous where you are. Just the
Sure.
juxtaposition between us is jarring, to say
I
the
feel
least.
like isn't it normally different? Like you spent a lot of time in Mexico, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, it's usually, and I was just in Mexico in February. And so to come back to here at 11 degrees, I'm going to speak in Celsius, sorry, but 11 degrees Celsius, 12 degrees Celsius, it's super jarring. I already lost my tan. It's like I never left. So
Wow.
I need to frequently leave the country to just gain some sun and then come back all the
Dude,
time.
I gotta tell you, this sun is just so energizing. I love it, dude. I can do nothing. I could sit here all day and just be in the sun and just like do nothing.
That's
It's
the dream.
glorious.
I feel like you've made it. I feel like you made it.
We can all make it if we just appreciate nature a little bit more,
Absolutely.
appreciate what's around us and what's already here,
I mean, the backdrop is perfect for this conversation, I think, is being immersed in nature like that. Like I said, if I had my way, I'd be right there with you.
Okay, so it's been a while since we had you on. What I'd love to have you back. What's been going on for you over the past year?
Yeah, it's been a while. Lots have happened. I think we talked early 2022, or maybe it was late 2022, but lots happened. I got a job with a environmental consulting firm, WSP, and so been working a lot with different construction groups and mitigating certain environmental hazards and impacts. So that's been my main 9 to 5 job recently, and it's taken me all over. I've seen crazy parts of Canada that I never thought I'd see. Been all the way up to the Arctic. I was in Baffinland for a bit, which is where we have the narwhal activity and walruses. And so it was really exciting to interact with those communities up there, just outside of a mine site, as well as I've been all the way up to Guacho Quay, which is up in Yellowknife, so right in the Yukon. These are very
Wow.
Canadian geographical spots, but the point is they're isolated, they're remote, and they're cold and completely outside of my wheelhouse. And so it's good, I think, for me to have that diversity, just to appreciate those moments where I can enjoy a mango margarita beside you in Miami later down in the future here. But working with different animals, it's been great. We saw muskox and yellowknife, like I was saying, narwhals up in Baffinland. Been working a lot in central Canada, interior BC areas. Yeah, it's been great, man. It's been great, really diversifying the resume, if you will.
Yeah,
And
I'd say.
and then of course on the side, I've been going down to Mexico and Cayman and enjoying those little perks of my business. So it's been fantastic.
Dude, that's awesome. So taking on this new adventure, this new journey, what would you say some of the biggest things have been that you learned so far?
It's to look small. It's to look small, and that's so cliche to say, I feel, but it's like I'm looking at, because it's a lot of work with construction groups, mine groups, and what their impacts of the immediate geography and the environment is. And it's to look at just around a city and just be like, how did they, make the landscaping here? Was it artificial? Was it already here? And they just
Mm.
adapted it? What were the mitigations put in place to build a bridge? Like it's over, let's say, it's over a canal. Is there fish in that canal? There had to be an impact assessment going on before they built the bridge to see if the fish would be, adverse to having a bridge above them. And so looking smaller and really taking apart structures as a kid and as a teenager, as a young adult, you just walk on the bridge. You don't think twice.
Yeah.
But having this knowledge of how things work in certain aspects is really interesting to me now. Is saying what went on to build this building, or what went on to build this facility that propagates environmentalism, but it's sat right next to an ocean that has coastal erosion on it. It's interesting seeing those layers now. Um, and so that's what I've really been leaning into is, let's not just go for a hike. Let's see, what's the building blocks of this hike that was made, right? The path, what's it made out of? What animals are interacting with that path? Is there environmental concerns with it? I know it must seem kind of mundane on the outside, but when you really know the intricacies and the niches of each thing, it's really interesting.
I can imagine you're it's almost like it's like in the Matrix. You can you can like see every little bit and every little thing, and
Making me seem way cooler than I am. I'm way cooler than I am. But
but
exactly. Yeah.
you can compartmentalize how each different thing contributes to the overall whole, right?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is, I used to look at a reef system like that. It has this kind of coral. That means this kind of fish has to be here, or this fish has to have that adaptivity. I'm not going to see this species of fish because it hates this coral. Like these building blocks of the world, right? But now I'm kind of
Yeah.
expanding to what humans have done and what we have to do as
Okay.
a society, right? And seeing those building blocks, as you said, of this has to go in, this has to go in. Yeah.
What what would you say has been surprising so far in looking at those nuances?
I think just that everyone's winging it. Everyone's winging it when you look at nuances like that, you can really tell who's been doing it for 100 years as a society as far as building is concerned, and who's
Okay.
just like, we got this piece of land and we know it's good, so we're going to try our best to utilize it or to
Oh, interesting.
mitigate certain aspects on the environment, right? So, and that's science. I mean, that's science at the end of the day is trying things out and seeing what happens, right? You never
Experimenting. Yeah.
experimenting, and you never want to reach that perfection, right? Because as soon as you reach that perfection, there's nothing more. You always want to strive for learning more about your situation. I think a perfect example is scuba diving. People recreationally dive the same reef hundreds of times, but they see different things each time. It's because they're learning as they go. They're like, yeah, I've seen that squirrel fish, I've seen that clownfish, but that triggerfish is communicating somehow with that moray eel. Like, let's just pause for a second and see what's going on. I've never seen that before. It's because things change, and I think you just subconsciously pick up things more you see it, for
Huh.
sure. Super interesting stuff for me.
Yeah. It's kind of like an impression. Like every single time you see something, and right away you get this impression of it. But then the more times you see it, the more nuances fill in that hole again. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect way to articulate that. Absolutely.
So Now you're in colder climates
Yeah.
and you're interacting with different flora and fauna.
Right.
Is there another animal that you found matches the same level of jerkness
I knew this was
as
coming.
the dolphins?
I knew you're setting it up for that too. I'm glad that stuck out in your brain when it comes to Bryce. You know, he hates dolphins.
This
Dolphins.
dude, I've never met anybody who hates dolphins. And this Bryce dude, he's got some sort of vendetta.
Absolutely. I like dolphins. I think they're too smart for their own good. I think that's what it is. Have I met an animal that has the same energy, Black Forest energy, as dolphin? That's a great question. I think honestly, crows. Once again,
Crows?
yeah, you know,
Okay, I can see that.
hyper intelligent. If they want to be your friend, they'll be your friend. But if you piss them off, or for some reason you accidentally piss them off, you're dead to them. And
Really?
it's funny because, you know, being in Canada, we have crows and seagulls. And my apologies if you hear seagull, because as soon as I have an important meeting go on, they decide to chirp in and completely add to the conversation. So once again, they come right on that window there. And so
Yeah.
it's that's, you know, give and take of being so close to a beautiful ocean side. But yeah, crows just walking on the street, they like to swoop down and check out what you got in your hands, and they have no fear, much like
Now
dolphins.
they have supposedly the intelligence of like a 7-year-old human, right?
Yeah, it's
Something like
like
that.
5-year-old or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They remember things. They remember what you're wearing. They remember faces, apparently, which is, I think, animal behavior is what we really need to be leaning in on here as far as scientists go. I think we can learn so much about ourselves studying animals. And I've always thought that. You know, you take a kid, like any kid can be entertained by an animal. You know, that's why zoos are so popular. You get to see animals you've never seen, but also you get to see characteristics, personalities you would never, you know, interact with.
Yeah.
Now, zoos are controversial for, you know, the situation that they put these animals in, but how great is it to have a kid from Calgary, Alberta, see a manatee? Like
Yes.
it's an incredible moment, I think. And then they can see, wow, this animal, you know, floats at the surface all day and eats grass. It's a lot like a cow back home, and they can
Yeah.
make comparisons like that, right? So I think animal behavior is what we should be really leaning into as scientists.
So what would that look like? Uh, as far as research study goes of studying animal behavior more, is it observational? Is it, can you map cognitively what's going on? Like what kind of tools are available to us right now?
Right. And I think what we really need to be looking at is communication with animals. Maybe not us communicating with them, but more trying to understand their communication. You know, there's different levels of language, obviously. You know, there's parts of it that are like grammar and discreteness and displacement. Like there's all these different building blocks of what a language is. And I don't believe every animal showcases those levels of language. So maybe the most we can get out of studying or observation is this animal saying it's poisonous. You know, this animal saying it's
Okay.
healthy, right? Maybe that's
Okay.
all it is fridge magnet words. And they can't,
Okay.
one of the letters go together in our brains, right? It's we just see that
Interesting.
a cuttlefish has chromatophores that say I'm poisonous. You know, they change colors. And maybe a crab, you know, has a bigger claw, and so that's showing that I'm healthier than the other crabs. It's very, you know, binary almost. Whereas things like, you know, prairie dogs, I've heard in, you know, the interior states and in Alberta, you know, they can accurately whistle that a human with a gun is coming because they
Really?
have intricacies of, you know, describing what's going on, what's happening, the
Okay.
speed of the predator that's coming, you know, whether it's an immediate threat or maybe an apprehensive threat. And so if we can really dismantle like a whale song, maybe we can learn more about migrations or currents through that. Because they're in the ocean all the time. They're seeing everything all the time. For
Yeah.
us to be able to take a whale song and say, let's move north, there's more fish that way. I think that'd be incredible. What a moment.
Huh. Now, last time we spoke, you were excited about technology. Um, is this like kind of segueing into this? Is there technology right now that we can do some of the stuff you're talking about?
Right. I think there will be very soon if we don't already have it. I'm not an expert in animal behavior per se or vocalizations, but we have, hydrophones. We have different audio equipment. We have people that are observing larger species sizes as well, seeing the more of the demographic and not just a small sample size. Because you could have a dolphin, for all intents and purposes, that has a lisp and we're following the wrong route this whole time, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, that's a very rudimentary way of thinking about it, but it's true. Like animals differ just as humans differ. And so, like, that's how we evolve, that's how we adapt. And so, I think as we go on, obviously, more technology will come out to kind of cut the noise.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be very soon that we make a big breakthrough for sure. And that's coming from a guy who hates dolphins, who are the most, intelligent, vocal animals on this planet. So I'm root for them. I just think they're assholes.
Yeah, it's like with humans, there's there's some humans that have some really big personalities,
Right.
but at the same time, you love that they exist and they're a part of the world and they
They
are an
need to
important
exist.
piece of all of this.
Yeah, they need to exist. I'm sure with all your conversations you've had, what are you at, 300 for your podcast? I think you're,
Yeah, we're at like close to 320s now. Yeah.
which is crazy because I think when we last talked, I think you had just hit 100.
Yeah, it was around like I think 185. I think you
Oh,
were
maybe
around like
two.
180s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And I
Yeah.
took a break for like 8 months to a
But
year. Yeah.
throughout that time, I'm sure you've met some insanely big personalities and that have people just orbiting around them, which is good. It's not a bad thing. It's just you got to recognize it for what it is and let
Yeah.
them pioneer their way through. And I think dolphins, for you know, a lot of the flack I give them, are things that we can study the most from
Mm.
and learn the most from, and not be like them because they're
Yeah.
assholes. But barring all that, no, dolphins are great. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Appreciating what each organism has to offer. I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Um, so what is some technology that excites you right now?
I've been on a big space kick recently. A big space,
Okay.
learning more about gathering, different substances. I shouldn't say substances, but different matter from like Mars. We can do that now. Like I think that's
Uh-huh.
crazy that we can take, samples from these planets that you know, I'm not the smartest kid in the shed or in the toolbox or anything like that. But what the best part about that is that I feel like my imagination is so large that I just can't comprehend certain things. Like the fact that we can go to Mars, collect a sample, and bring that sample back now is jarring and mind-boggling to me. Because I look outside and I see stars, I see the moon, and I'm like, damn, we are really out there. Like there's
Yeah.
people there that are able to navigate that void of space. And here I am stuck in traffic. It's like there's much smarter people out there that are using technology I can't even understand. And I think that's so exciting that there's things that are beyond my imagination that people are doing right now. I've just, like I said, I've been on a space kick, and just understanding different phases of civilizations that we have. I forget the scale, but it's rating different, how far they've evolved. And one on the scale is like utilizing the stars around a planet for energy, and that energy is endless now. And then the second one on the scale is using the galaxy around us. And then the third
Yeah.
is using other galaxies around us for energy. And so to know that we're like a point 0.6 on that scale, yet we can think about what's beyond that. That is crazy to me, that we can even visualize and imagine what a 3 scale civilization would be. And so the technology that goes into those hypotheticals, I think, is just amazing. I think it's probably all math, which I absolutely suck at. There's a reason why I stuck with animals, but what really excites me is space exploration for sure.
Space exploration. Would you go to space?
I think I would. I think I would rather go to space than the bottom of the ocean, which
And you're
is,
a marine
I'm a
biologist.
marine biologist. I think it's because once you know what goes into a cake, some of the mysteriousness, the the ambiguity is gone when you know all the ingredients that go into cake. If you just have the cake without knowing what's in it, you're gonna think, wow, this is amazing. But if I tell you
Yeah.
all the butter that's in it, you're gonna start thinking, man, I shouldn't have too much of this cake. And it's kind of like going down deep, I feel, is you just know the ins and outs of what's happening to you and how quickly things can go wrong. Whereas space, I'm just having the cake. I have no idea what's going on up there. I'm not gonna breathe
Oh,
right
yeah,
away if
that's
the airlock
interesting.
close, you know. Whereas deep sea exploration is amazing. I think we should put more money towards it. And I think that we need to explore all of the ocean, especially the Pacific side. It's not gonna be me
Yeah.
in the sub though.
Yeah.
I'll be up top, saying, "Oh, I know what kind of shark that is," or "Oh, that's a Dumbo octopus," or a red vent worm, that kind of thing. Whereas in space, I feel like I would just be like in awe the entire time, and just it wouldn't matter what happened because I'm exploring something that's beyond what I can comprehend.
Yeah. How many years do you think until like you and I would be able to like reasonably just go to space?
I think if they're basing off fashion, you're going before me, but it's going to be like, I'm going to say 50 years.
50? Yeah.
50 years, I think there's going to be recreational. I mean, isn't Virgin already doing flights recreationally into like the outer
So,
atmosphere?
right. So we are already at recreation, but it's within 50 years. I'm curious how advanced it will be for just everyday people to go explore, you know?
Yeah, like do a lap around the moon and come back kind of essence of it
Yeah,
all.
for lunch I'm gonna, go around the moon, come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got a date lined up. It's like, damn.
Hey, hey, you want to go to outer space?
Yeah, that's pretty romantic. I mean, that sounds way
I don't
better
even know if
than
I want to go to the movies with you. You want to take me to space?
well, exactly, right? How long is that? And that's another
Yeah,
thing too, is like that stuff takes time to
yeah,
to go anywhere noteworthy, right? So we're gonna have to get propulsion better, better rockets, more efficient rockets, safer landings, before that even happens. But think about the opposite of what we were just talking about, going to the bottom of the ocean. We're
yeah.
talking jet black all around you. I don't think anyone's signing up to go down there right off the bat. So much rather space.
Less, less scenic, probably.
Much less scenic for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's an interesting question though. I hope soon though. I'd be down. I'm going up.
I think I would. I would like on a binary scale. I would probably go one. I probably would.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's free for sure. If I gotta dish out some life savings though, I don't. I think there's still
I'm
so
not.
much.
Yeah, I'm not the guy who's gonna save up. Is in like
Right.
like put on his calendar. Oh, I gotta. Well, not necessarily calendar. Make it his life mission to go to outer space and save up, and that's that big trip. Like I'm not that person, but
No, but some
yeah,
people
yeah,
are, right? For
yeah,
sure. I mean, a great kind of juxtaposition is James Cameron with the deepest dive, right? His life goal before he made films was to go the furthest down someone has ever gone. And so he crafted his submersible for years, like throughout the first Avatar movie filming. He was crafting that submersible to go down. And
dang,
he failed a lot of times. Like he didn't have the deepest dive, I think, till the third try. Things going
okay,
wrong, all that stuff. So there's people out there that's willing to, throw their money at the wall and say, I want to be that person that
yeah,
does this, right? I
yeah,
am definitely not that person. I don't need that Guinness record, but I think for him it was more of like an obsession that he just wanted to see Mariana's Trench and do it. I lost you. I think it's still recording. As long as I stay here, I think we're okay. I think we can edit it, is what I'm saying. I'm holding the spot, Rich. I'm holding it. I'm not leaving. Okay. My message sent to you. I don't know if your phone died, bro. Great conversation so far. Great conversation. There we go. We're back.
dude.
Oh man.
Is it? It's still recorded, hey,
It is, yeah. So you just have me being like, yo, what's going on?
dude. So the phone. Okay, 1 second.
Yes,
Let
sir.
me set up. This whole time, I thought it was gonna be a battery that was gonna. This recording is one big experiment,
Yeah.
but it was the sun that was the issue. Let me switch her on the table.
Yes, sir. I love that this is an experiment right now. First of all,
Dude,
I love that. This is so on brand. So I'm loving it. Look at the fit, man. You look great.
you should see my other fit. This is like hot weather.
Right. Yeah.
Then I have my long sleeve, my non-tropical weather.
Uh, yeah. Dude, look great.
Okay, let's see.
It's a little bit of editing later on. That's fine.
Yeah, no worries. I'm actually really impressed that it's still recorded. That it kept recording. Okay, how's this? Okay,
Let's
we're
see.
back.
Sorry, Rich. It doesn't seem, I don't know if it's recording still now. It
It
was
is,
just,
right?
it says up there. Yeah. Just, oh, maybe because I'm not a host anymore. Sorry. Because when you left, I was the host where I could stop
Oh,
and start.
really?
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Well, welcome back. If you're just joining this conversation like I am, uh, this recording, this is a really interesting setup. I'm all about experimentation, and I do in-person recordings. This is kind of the process doing 300 episodes. I have in-person and then Zoom ones. So there are different processes going on that I've been experimenting with. And I've sort of, I want to say, perfected the in-person one to the degree where I can fit my entire recording setup in a briefcase, 6 iPhones, 4 tripods. It's built for agility, mobility, record anywhere, anytime, with anyone. Zoom, I'm still trying to figure out. Of I don't like being in like a set place all the time. So today I wanted to see with Bryce how far I can push this recording setup. So I started with like 70% battery, and the issues with like headphones and audio, I want to see how it works when I'm out on the go. I thought it'd be a little windier. I'm by the ocean recording here at the Frost Science Museum in Miami. And it turns out that the sun in Miami just like just shot the phone. Just a black screen came up with a temperature thing and said the phone is too hot to operate. The temperature is too high.
Right.
And so I waited like 3 minutes, and then it just came back on, and it's still recording. That's crazy.
I got to host for a little bit. It was me, but it worked out well. So
The co-host of the Rich Conversations podcast.
exactly. So you'll see that in post, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyways, what were we talking about? Space.
Space and shit, man. It's in animals.
How much power is that? That the sun. We're talking about technologies here, and our phones yet, for all the power that we have and its capabilities, the sun still reigns supreme. You know?
Supreme. Well, I think it's interesting that you got an alert on the phone. So it still work. The phone still like is working enough for it to tell you what happened to it. Right? It
Yeah,
didn't just go black. It was like, nope, a little too hot right now. Which I've seen on my own phone, across the tropical areas I've gone to. But it's just interesting how it still has that capability of saying, I'm too hot, just cool me down
yeah,
for a bit, and we're good to go.
yeah. So to me, what my first thought is, the materials in the iPhone still quite aren't capable of handling direct sun and energy like that. It's too much.
Yeah, or they just like, I think the phone just protects itself, saying, I could operate right now, but we're getting critical here. If it gets a little too or a little more exposure at this heat, we're gonna
Yeah.
start outside kind of thing, right? But I mean, that's a piece of technology that I'm impressed by. And I'm impressed it kept recording.
Yeah. So Zoom is recording, not the phone then.
Right.
And then it just, because the meeting kept going, and it was
You just
the
logged off.
meeting that was recording, not necessarily the individuals. Um, I love this. Like, being able to dissect what happened. Um,
Super interesting.
yeah. I'm just kind of baffled. I'm just kind of impressed by it.
I'm waiting for it to happen again.
I
It's-
put it. I moved the table 3 feet so that I'm still in the sun. I'm still sweating like
yeah,
crazy, like a Wisconsin boy in Miami, and the phone is in the shade.
right. So we should be good to go.
We should be good to go. Yeah. I don't know how much longer I can be in direct sunlight and manage myself
Right. It's
and my
kind of
hosting responsibilities of the podcast.
yeah, it's kind of like a hot ones-esque situation here.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe a question for you. What's one of the funniest moments that's happened to you recently?
I a lot when you travel, I feel like every time you get on a plane, something funny happens. It's just the way, interacting with so many different people, and there's gonna be personalities that clash and all that stuff. But most recently, I was coming back from Cabo, so I was going Cabo to Houston, and then Houston to Vancouver, and then I get a
Okay.
little ferry boat that goes to my island out here, the island of Vancouver Island, not one that I own. Just
Ah,
to clarify here. Anyways, when I was in Houston, you have to go through American immigration, of course, which is always a great time. And I travel on Canadian passport, even though I'm a dual citizen, just because of the nature of my work. It's just easier that way. And so I get up, you have the cattle pens kind of thing where you're all back. You think you're close to it, but you're not. You're far back. So after 35 minutes of waiting, which is not that long, but you're not allowed to be on your phone in there. And so it's kind of a little bit torturous in a way, right? You're like, I'm so bored and I'm so used to sucking my energy into this small device and now I can't because people are going around, right? And so you're just like, just looking around you, observing people and seeing their dynamic and being like, are they together? Are they, older couple that have been together for a long time? Anyways, the funny situation was I finally got to the officer and it's always kind of a scary moment as well with the officers, right? You have nothing going on, but sometimes their questions are pretty intrusive and you're like not ready for them.
Yeah.
And so the officer said, what are you doing? I said I was on business and whatever, whatever. And he takes a look at my passport. He's flipping through the pages, and I travel not a ton, like I don't do it every day, but it's at least once a month I go on a good round trip that hits multiple airports.
Yeah.
And the officer's looking through it, and he's like, I'm going to ask you one question. It's like, why don't you have a Nexus pass? And I was like, I just don't have one. Like, I just haven't gone around to it. And he
Oh,
has my
what?
a Nexus pass.
What's that?
It's like a fast pass, like to get through
Okay.
security really fast, like a
Ah,
TSA free kind of thing. And so he was questioning because I travel so much and I don't have one, that I guess it was a flag in his brain that why would this guy not have a Nexus pass when he travels so much? And so he starts literally like a guy on commission being like TSA pre-boarding, you can skip this line. Is like whenever you go up to security, you can just go past everyone. And like, why wouldn't you have it? And I'm like, I just haven't been around to it. I just haven't gone. He's like, most credit cards have it for free. Like, why don't you just like it's like a perk some credit cards have? I'm like, yeah, man, I just don't. And he had brilliant blue eyes, kind of like a Hannibal Lecter looking guy, in a good way, but still like a very, very aggressive. So we have this long conversation, and people are waiting in the cattle, being like, he's getting pitched a marketing idea. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't have time. So the funny part of the conversation was I leave that conversation. I get my passport after about 3 minutes of just direct conversation. And I go up to security and it says, TSA pre, not available at this time. Nexus not available at this time. So the irony of all of this was, even if I did have a Nexus card, I would still be waiting in line with everyone else. And
yeah.
so for me, though, it was so funny how this guy who's in charge of making sure things aren't coming into the country was just pitching me a $50 card the whole time.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been worth it in the end, right? So for me, I think that's just a funny, like, human trait of us being like, I know what's better for you. I got good advice for you. And here it is 20 feet down the line, completely useless.
Yeah.
So one of those really quick, funny, ironic moments where I was like, just be yourself through life, be with gratitude, compose yourself and be thankful for someone giving advice, but stay on your path, right? Like you can receive information and not be rude to it. But it was like a funny situation for sure. And my family travels all the time, and so they got a kick out of that because they don't have Nexus passes either. And so I don't know. It was just an ironic, funny moment that no
I
one
like
got hurt,
that.
and yeah, it just made me leave with gratitude because I was very, polite to the guy. And I think that's just some people just, you know, they interact that way where it's always advice being given, or it's always like, oh, if I was in your situation, I would do this, you
Yeah.
know. So, anyways, pretty funny situation.
I like that. That's a very human
Yeah,
human thing to happen in
absolutely.
that situation, and then 20 feet ahead for it like not to be abused.
Yeah, not to be worth it at all, like immediately dismissed.
Okay, on a sidestep note, Is there an inspiring story that's been on your mind at all?
It's I had a conversation with one of my really good friends recently, and we were talking about our parents and about
Okay.
how you can really like when you look at a parent, like my mother, for instance, is my role model, the idol of my life, and the epitome of what I can make myself is what she is. And for me, looking it's weird. It's inspiring because you can put her life on a piece of paper. Like you can write exactly the steps she took, why she took those steps, where it led her, and how, eventually, the greatest person alive came to be me.
Mhm.
All like these steps as it goes. And it's crazy to think how almost simplistic that story is when you put it on paper like that. How
Yeah.
it's almost not nuanced in a way. It's like, she, lost a parent in her life and wanted to fulfill that person's dream. So she moved to the Cayman Islands and explored the ocean
Mhm.
more. And that cascade, that domino effect led to, me being born, obviously. But also how inspiring is that such a small move cascaded such a I mean, it cascaded my life.
Yeah.
Like how I think that's so me and my friend were talking, one of my best friends, and we were just saying, wow, how inspiring is our parents that they they seemingly came from nothing and made such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
uh, Whether that be their career, whether it be the family, whether that be who they are personally. And I think for us, like looking at your own family situation, looking at your friends, I think there's inspiration to be found in all those avenues. You just got to really like think about the steps they took to get to that spot. And I think that's kind of where that gratitude also comes from, is where you take a step back from where you are and not just absorbing what's going on, but take a step back, a third person, and say, wow, my colleague is here because of these steps they took. That's inspiring that they got over that hurdle of poverty and they're at the same place I am. Or wow, this person came from a family of seven brothers who were all, welders, but they decided to go into science despite that. Like it's just I find inspiration in those stories because it takes
Mhm.
dedication, takes passion to do all that. It took passion for my mom to leave Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the most industrial city in the world, to go to a place like the Cayman Islands, where everything's island time. It's tropical. People conduct themselves differently there. And I think that's inspiring to have someone be like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, what's the worst that can
Interesting.
happen? So I think those inspirational moments you can just find closer than you think. They don't want to be so grandiose as to
Okay.
go to the bottom of the ocean or to, be on Elon Musk and explore Mars. I think it's some stuff is just inspiring. The mundane stuff can be inspiring, I believe.
Mhm. I love
Absolutely.
that. And it's like I feel like oftentimes when we look back, the moves also seem so obvious in retrospect, doesn't it?
It
It's
does.
like
No,
it's
100%.
yeah, it's interesting.
One of the biggest moments recently that I had, you know, I do a lot of it's funny, like running a company. I run a ecotourism business down in Mexico where we take youth from different parts of Canada down to explore the Sea of Cortez. And it's funny when you let someone experience something for the first time like that. As I was saying before, a Calgary kid seeing a manatee for the first time, that wouldn't happen down in Mexico, but let's say a whale shark. It it completely it changes the way they think
It
in
like
the
rewires it.
100%.
Yeah. It's like,
And
yeah.
I feel like that ironically I've been doing recently, but not with animals, but with my interactions and my relationships. How I've been looking at it from like almost a third person in a way of saying, patting myself on the back and being like, wow, I worked really hard for this friendship or for this romantic relationship or for this relationship with my family. And I need to take a step back and really acknowledge that and to really, either re-inspire myself to keep compelling going down that route with that relationship or to double down and say, yeah, this is something that I'm really happy about. I'm really thankful for. Super interesting. And
Beautiful.
I got all that from animals. So imagine when we find out more about working with animals and how they communicate, how much more we can look at ourselves and step back and see those building blocks.
I feel like a first step though would be to not look at our phones so much so that we can observe what's around.
First step is to get a Nexus card so you can bypass security. But yeah, 100%. No, I agree. I think there's a lot of toxic, almost poisonous verbiage around phone use, social media use, and how I think it corrupts, or people assume it corrupts. I think social media is such a tool. I think it's how you use this tool that really either poisons your mind or gets you further in life. One of the
Mm.
reasons we're having this conversation right now is because of social media. And I feel like I'm a better person for meeting you. And I
Oh,
really that going forward, that if you keep using those tools productively, that's how you are going to shape your own life. Now, if you're, laying in bed for 3 hours because you're scrolling on TikTok and it's all just entertainment, there's no education around it, then I do believe that there's other ways we could be using time for sure. Getting outside, being raw with nature, even visiting a building like a science museum or, something like along those lines. But, I have friends that, take social media breaks and I don't get it. I don't get it. My mind is just not there where I'm using it as an escape. I'm using it as a tool, guys. I'm seeing what other people are doing with their businesses or what groundbreaking science is happening right now that I should be aware of or I should log away. Um, animals that I've never seen in real life. I've spent hundreds of hours watching on a screen. And so when I do finally see that animal in real life, I hope to be a little more in tune with its behavior.
mm.
Um, and so for me, it's more of like a research, almost like an education device, like the phone is, and to, obviously communicate with family and friends and whatever else. But I think if you're using it for entertainment solely, you're missing out. You are missing out.
I love that. That's really insightful. Some big takeaways there.
I just think a lot of people use it as an escape. And at the end of the day, this is a supercomputer. Like you can do anything you want with this. You can start 4 businesses that sell clothing in a day. You could start a podcast. You could also dive into how to make cakes and become a great baker just from this thing. And you're watching, videos or entertainment on what's happening in the world as far as movie actors and actresses, and you're not taking anything away from that. I just think that's a waste when you could literally be asking it about Mars. You could be asking it about how do we get to the moon recreationally. These are questions that we're saying, wow, I don't know when. This thing does. This thing has a great idea of when. And if you use it correctly, I think that can really shape your future the right way and the way you want it to be.
It's beautiful, beautiful. It's almost like it gets at a deeper thing where when we're discussing individuals not using it in those more constructive ways, there's something deeper inside the person that needs to kind of sort itself out, like a more feeling of purpose and intention.
I think a lot of people use it almost as like a meditation tool or like an ease tool. And trust
Yeah.
me, I'm not going to be that guy that says I don't, watch a video that's funny for 30 seconds or 30 minutes, right? Or I'm not watching the newest Netflix special. Three Body Problem, Ripley, these are great TV shows. But I think they have a time and a place. And if you're using your screen time for just that avenue, I think that's when you should really ask yourself, what do you want to be doing in life? Like what is your purpose that you feel? And if you don't have a purpose, I think that's even better because you have something that has every purpose imaginable right here. Explore, find something that you're like, damn, I love this rabbit hole. I want to explore more of that. Um, for people that don't have a direction in college, they should be on their phones. I think they should be scouting every avenue that interests or piques their interest and then double down on that on their phone and then apply it to a college or university or entrepreneurship.
Huh.
I don't think it's toxic at all. I don't think it's poisonous. I do think we should spend less time on our phones. However, if your passion and future are shaped by what's on that phone, double down, be on that phone.
That reminds me, conversation I had this morning with my friend. He steps out. Like every morning, I do my morning routine. I journal and then whatever. And I was uploading files from a conversation with Shelby Thomas yesterday.
Love it.
And and he's like, "Oh, you're a two phones guy." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I have six phones." So then I go,
Yeah.
"What? Come here. Let me show you." So then I'm so proud. I bring out my briefcase. It's not this one, but a different one. I'm like, "See, I use these two phones for this, and then I use this one over here, and then I keep one at home just in case everything goes wrong with all of these."
Yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely.
it's like these phones that we're communicating on. You're in Vancouver. I'm in Miami.
Yeah.
In real time, we're recording with each other, have powerful capabilities. So why not multiply that by
Yeah.
six, in my opinion?
Get a seventh. It gets crazy, right? Like,
I think I'm very partial to the iPhone 13 mini. I think it's a really I think it's my favorite technology device I've ever owned in my life.
whoa, that's a big
Yeah,
statement.
it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I think they're incredibly useful tools. And there's much smarter people that can talk about phones than me and about their, you know, adaptivity and about how they work. But for me, it's a communication device first. And second, it's how to keep myself relevant and educated with what's going on in the passion field that I'm in. And so for you, having six phones allows you to have this kind of conversation on the fly, be able to record snippets here and there, accurate audio. That's relevant. That's the passion.
No.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a delightful conversation. We this has been a treat, and I want to leave on this question. My favorite question: what are you curious about recently?
Oh man, that's a heavy one to end on. What am I curious about? I'm curious about how I'm curious about myself, to be honest, and about how I'm going to adapt. I'm turning 30 next week. And so it's a big moment for me. I mean, people around me are telling me it's a big moment. I feel like it's another year that's going by. But I'm really curious to see how the next 10 years really shape my story. And I
Mm,
really want to take more time with things. I want to, when a friend that you haven't seen in a while reaches out, I want to take my time to entertain that idea for going for a walk with that person. I want to, reiterate that I'm making that story that one day my kids are going to piece together and put on paper and say, wow, these are the steps he took. and here I am. And so for me, I'm curious to see what those steps are and exactly why I'm making those decisions. Because as you said, it seems so obvious when you're looking back on everything. But for me right now in the unknown, I'm very curious to see what's coming down the line and how I'm going to adapt to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
Ties it all together, man.
Yeah.
It's always
Well,
it's always a pleasure talking to you.
dude, it is. Let's do it more often. How about that?
We'll run it back again.
Dude, it's been really great. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come talk with me while I'm here in beautiful, energized Miami.
I'll make you a promise right now. The next time we do have a talk, it'll be in person.
We'll be what?
In person. We'll be together.
Say together.
Yeah, we'll be together the next time.
Oh,
Because then we
okay.
won't have this communication issue as right now.
That's
You
true.
know? We'll be
I feel like
together.
I feel like in this time span, I just like went around the world in space, into the ocean,
Right.
back again. The sun was like, nope, time out. He came
Yeah.
back, and I feel energized to continue shaping my story as well. So thank you very much.
No, absolutely. I'm excited to see where your story goes too. Like I said, next time we talk, it will be in person. And I'm hoping to have some, revelations for you and hopefully take you around the world again.
There we go. I love it.
Absolutely, Rich. Thank you again.